Since 1966, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by Georgia Farm Bureau in association with Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College.
Alrighty then, welcome. Ray DeLessio holding things down this week while Jennifer Parson enjoys some well-deserved R&R. Suffice it to say, we've got a jam-packed show ahead dealing with the hard-hitting issues making headlines in agriculture, including this, the troubling trend that's gaining momentum. Hear what's putting more pressure on farmers and why some say the warning signs have been there for years. For many in agriculture, it's a struggle that often goes unseen. We're going to take you to Fort Valley for a powerful conversation that brought people together, broke down walls, and offered hope. And then later, they're hard to find, even harder to stop. How DNA is changing the fight against feral swine. These stories and more right now on the Farm Monitor. Well, sad to say, farm bankruptcies are up again for the second straight year. And here in Georgia, some farmers are really starting to feel that pressure. As John Holcomb shows us, it's not something that happened overnight. It's been a slow-moving trend for quite a while.
Across the country and right here in Georgia, the farm economy is showing signs of strain as farm bankruptcies are on the rise for the second straight year, a sign that financial pressure is continuing to build across agriculture, with some sectors holding strong while others continue to struggle.
It's really a tale of two sectors, right? We have a situation in the livestock sector where margins have been pretty good. On the other side, we have the crop sector where things are struggling. Prices for row crops, for cotton, for peanuts, they're down. And on top of that, input costs have been high as well, so those margins have been squeezed pretty considerably. So when we look across all of agriculture, we're in a situation where by and large, we're at a tighter margin environment than we were over the last couple of years.
As those margins tighten year after year, that financial pressure doesn't just hit all at once. It builds over time, often forcing farmers to make difficult decisions just to stay afloat.
It's probably several years before you really think about, okay, I've worked through a lot of my maybe cash on hand or some of my working capital and inventory. I've kind of trimmed costs everywhere I can, but I still have these ongoing fixed cost payments tied to equipment or land or other assets or other kinds of obligations you might have on the debt side. And so it's kind of that cumulative effect.
According to Secor, that's why bankruptcy filings are often a lagging indicator, reflecting stress that's been building for years, not just a single bad season.
Because of that cumulative effect of having multiple years of tighter incomes or negative incomes, that's what causes that bankruptcy to then be that lagging indicator. You know, these are situations where producers may have already restructured debt or might be in a situation where they had to take on additional debt that they didn't have, 2 or 3 years ago, but because of those tighter margins, maybe more expensive inputs, they're now having to borrow additional funds that now 2 or 3 years later, they're no longer able to see an opportunity to pay those off.
However, for many of those producers, filing under Chapter 12 bankruptcy isn't about shutting down. It's about finding a way forward.
In this Chapter 12, farmers create a debt repayment plan and get that court approved and then make payments on that. And there are some different features like kind of restructuring that debt might include changing how far out that goes. So instead of needing to be paid over the next 3 years, you stretch it out over 10, or you change the interest rates and things like that. So it's really designed to try and figure out how do we equitably restructure this debt, provide protection through bankruptcy proceedings for that debtor, and kind of rework that to be kind of a good outcome.
And with challenges in the crop sector expected to continue, that pressure on farm finances may not ease anytime soon. Reporting in Athens for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
On that note, we all know how resilient and hardened farmers can be. So when it comes to talking about mental health, It's not always an easy conversation. But at the annual Farm Stress Summit, organizers are working to change that and to ensure no one feels like they have to face it alone. Damon Jones shows us how that message is hitting home.
With so many uncontrollable factors that go into it, there's no secret that farming is one of the most stressful professions in the country. And that is very evident with the increasing number of farmers battling mental health issues.
One of the most telling statistics is that we know from the CDC and other national statistics that our rate, suicide rate of Georgia farmers are 3.5 times the state population average.
That's why events like the Farm Stress Summit are so important, as it tries to reach a population that isn't always quick to reach out for help.
Farmers tend to be tough and be hesitant to share their feelings with people. That's okay if you're doing well. It's hard to admit that you're struggling. But there's so many ways that you can receive help and people who want to be part of that journey.
And many of those were on hand for the event, as healthcare providers, nonprofit organizations, and faith leaders were all gathered to spread the awareness about some of the programs available.
We want them to know that we are here to help, that there is available places you can go. We have 988, that's through DBHDD. 988 is the 3-digit number you can call if you're in a crisis or if you need to talk to somebody. It's an easy number to remember. When you call 988 in Georgia, you're going to get a Georgia clinician on the phone.
While the ever-expanding awareness around mental health is the first step, changing the stigma around asking others for help might be the biggest obstacle.
There are many ways to address it, and I think understanding that you're not lesser, not crazy, not a failure is really important. And to normalize that discussion in healthcare and not make it a separate entity is imperative.
It's a message that could shape the future of agriculture and the country as a whole, with farmers battling to stay above water in the current financial climate.
Unprecedented challenges are what face our farmers in this era. And again, it seems to be a little bit more challenging every single year for our farmers, our farm families to stay in business, to pass that to the next generation. And if we can't figure that out, we as a society, as a culture, as a nation, we are going to find out then too late that how critical they are.
So ag is the #1 industry in Georgia. It eclipses number 2 and 3 combined. And we have to support this group. We all want to eat and live in a house and wear clothes. And so we have to take care of our neighbors and the people that supply those things to us.
Reporting from Fort Valley, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, thanks so much. Still to come, a Georgia educator once again putting the state on the national stage. What's behind the honor and why it should come is no surprise. But first, the major USDA plan aimed at reshaping the beef cattle industry. Why the move could be a game changer.
Prescribed burns play a vital role in maintaining healthy forests across the Southeast and beyond. In this video, you'll see how ABAC students gain hands-on experience leading these controlled fires to protect and restore our natural landscapes. Every year, forests across the Southeast thrive thanks to prescribed burns, carefully planned and controlled fires that keep the land healthy and resilient. At Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, our students don't just learn about prescribed burning, they do it. Every year, our students suit up and step into the field under the guidance of certified professionals. They're trained in the science, safety, and strategy behind the flames, developing the skills they'll need for careers in natural resources, forest management, and conservation. Prescribed burns clear out thick underbrush and dead vegetation that can fuel dangerous wildfires. They help native plants grow, improve forest health, encourage biodiversity, and return vital nutrients to the soil. Even certain tree species, like longleaf pine, need fire to thrive and maintain their unique ecosystem. This isn't just a classroom lesson, it's land stewardship in action. It's learning by doing, because here at ABAC, not all classrooms have walls.
Ray DeLessio back here on the Farm Monitor. Well, as cattle producers continue navigating high input costs and a shrinking herd, USDA is rolling out its Beef Action Plan, a long-term effort aimed at strengthening the industry from the ground up. That includes rebuilding the nation's cattle supply, improving market transparency, and creating more opportunities for producers to stay profitable, something USDA Undersecretary for Food Safety, Dr. Minnie Brashears, touched on during a recent visit to Georgia. Brashears telling the Farm Monitor that expanding beef processing capabilities is a key priority, with the potential to give producers more control and better market access.
Whenever a regulation comes out and it's dozens, if not hundreds of pages long, it's hard to boil that down into what does this mean for me. And so we're going to be providing technical assistance. And then we have some mission-to-mission efforts where we'll be rolling out some grant opportunities. Those will be coming out very soon for improvements and just support for those smaller plants, and also additional support through our extension system. So we're very excited to roll that out and to have that support for our small and very small plants.
Meantime, here in Georgia, the Ag in the Classroom Teacher of the Year Award has become something of a pipeline to national recognition, with several educators over the years going on to earn top honors across the country. And now you can add another name to that list: Stephanie Westhaver, Georgia's 2025 winner, who's one of 6 educators nationwide to receive the 2026 Excellence in Teaching About Agriculture Award. As we discovered when we first met Stephanie, her excellence didn't happen by chance. In a first-grade classroom at West Jackson Elementary, curiosity takes root in the soil, and lessons come to life among the rows of tomatoes, basil, and peppers. Here, learning isn't confined to just desks and whiteboards. It blossoms in the garden. And for Dr. Stephanie Westhaver, agriculture isn't just a subject. It's the heartbeat of her classroom.
It isn't just about us planting and tending for the garden. It's actually something that connects with where their food comes from and the things that they see as they drive to school. Like, we're fortunate out here that even though we do have the sprawl coming, that we do still see cows on the way to school and crops growing in fields. And so this was something that I knew would be relatable to them. And that's what I really try to do, is make learning relative and authentic so they can connect it to their life. Why am I learning this? Like, I want them to be able to tell me why it's important to their lives.
She loves to learn. She's a lifelong learner, and then she will then implement it. And that's what really makes her stand out from everybody else, and kind of fulfills that whole first impression. So she loves the kids. She engages with every single student, their families, just like we were told she does. It's true. We see it in the room. She has parents in her classroom all the time. They're totally engaged also in their child's learning and in also learning about what the kids are learning. And so she's just a beyond an amazing teacher.
Her students call it their pizza garden, a year-long project that begins with a question. That question: how can we maintain a seasonal garden to provide food for our school and community? From there, lessons sprout in science, math, and literacy, all through the lens of, yes, agriculture.
Well, I'll be honest, a lot of what drives the decisions that I make, again, goes back to what is authentic and relevant to the students. And what is something that all students can get behind is pizza. And when I introduced that last year, I said, guys, I want to plant a pizza garden. And I kind of got looks like, pizza garden? Like, you know, they're imagining these little slices of pizza growing on a vine, you know? And I thought, do you guys even know where your pizza comes from? And so it was really exciting to see that journey of us thinking about, well, where do we get the things that are on pizza and what can we grow in our garden? What could we also do, like researching our adopted calf last year and finding out how dairy farms contribute to pizza. We made mozzarella cheese last year and just seeing that process. It was really interesting for them to realize that that is something that comes from the farm, because typically they're thinking either I get it at the grocery store or I order it from Pizza Hut or something, you know? So yeah, it was a really great connection for them to realize that that is not as simple as going and picking up your pizza.
Dr. Westhaver's efforts have reshaped how young learners and their families view agriculture. From vermicomposting to healthy cooking, her students discover that farming isn't something that happens out there. It's part of who they are and what they can grow together.
Is it safe to say then that energy, Lori, is what makes her so effective and what makes her such a successful teacher?
I think it's a part of it. There's so many pieces to her that make her successful. The energy helps. It helps kids who maybe that wasn't their passion. Maybe they don't love writing. Maybe they came and don't have a background in gardening and vegetables. She brings that excitement and kind of pulls them in that way. And then when they become hands-on and problem solvers, then they're really truly invested in that regard. But she's effective because she layers it all in.
It's kind of new to education too, though, to really think about that integrated learning. And I love that Georgia Ag in the Classroom and National Ag in the Classroom, they really are focused on that integrated learning. And that's something, being on the Georgia Council for Literacy, that I've been driving home. Reading is not its own thing. Reading is something we do to absorb information about things like science and social studies. We can't have it over here by the side. It is immersed in everything that we do. And I think the more that people see that and see examples of it and you kind of show them how it can be done, they're totally on board because it is the best way to teach.
And for Dr. Westhaver, those lessons go far beyond the garden. They plant seeds of understanding, curiosity, and care, one small sprout at a time.
Let me tell you, our farmers, they work hard. That is not an easy job. And that's also something that I love that I hear my students taking away. They'll say, wow, that was hard, but I did it. I did it and I'm proud of it. And seeing a kid say that they're proud of something that they did, that isn't just a math test or a reading assessment, you know, but seeing them out making a change in the world and being excited about that, that's life-changing.
Tearing up crops in Georgia and across the nation. When we come back, how USDA is using cutting-edge science to track down feral swine.